Nerd Soul.
Lay ill kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What's up? It's Star Trek Strange New Worlds, baby. Let's do this. That's what I'm talking
Woo!
about. And I got an awesome gentleman with me right now. He is about to break it down for you. Who he is, where he be at, and where you can find him. Mr. Solar Gray, what's up?
How's it going out there, everybody? I'm Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, and I'm coming at you from the Wizard's Tower incorporeally. And if you like the things I gotta say and the way that I interact with this fine young gentleman right here, then you can find me Monday through Friday at twitch.tv/BID_P or on my YouTube channel. Just look up Solar Gray or Bid P Blurred, and you can find us there Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, coming at you live from the Wizard's Tower, talking about games, nerd stuff, and of course, the never-ending journey of a blurred in America.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So, let me set it off with this. Lon, you thought that you could escape the masculine wiles of Captain T. Kirk, James T. Kirk, if you will.
Oh, we're opening up with that?
You thought that you could escape the charm of James T. Mother Kirk. Oh, you're wrong, girl. You're wrong. You can't handle that. I don't care how stern you want to be. Oh, you can't stop that. That's Kirk right there. All right. He's gonna break through that hard, extensive shell. All right. And get down to the woman inside that just wants to be held, just wants to be understood, just wants to be touched, just wants to be loved. All right. You can't stop that. All right. That's a true. That's like James Bond in space. All right. What was she going? It wasn't even her fault. What could she do? What could she do up against someone like that? Come on now. Can I get a witness?
You know who you sound like. You sound like JB Smooth at the end of Pootie Tang right now.
Wow.
You straight up going, yeah, no. Oh, there we go. Oh, Kirk got them phaser beams locked on. Red River coming, baby. Red River coming. Oh man, he's got those phasers locked on to that exterior, that hard genetically modified exterior. Oh, here we go, baby. Set the phasers on stun. Set the phasers on smooth, baby. Yeah, that's what right. You sound like.
I mean, what could she do? What honestly, what could she do? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't her fault. You know what I'm saying? What could she do? I mean, a man such as him, you know, out there on them Toronto streets,
menace.
Man,
still a menace.
Man. No matter what time zone, timeline, time frame, temporal, whatever, he gonna be the same Kirk everywhere.
That's because James T. Kirk is literally the spiritual avatar of game. That's what he is. It's like, oh man, you know, I wish I knew how to talk to girls. I know. I'll watch Star Trek. And James is like, oh, we need this currency. Hey, there are people playing chess for money. I'll be right back, girl.
Oh man, he was.
Who is the man who plays some chess for his brother, man?
Can you dig it? But
bones, yeah. I mean, seriously, that's.
But I'll take it back a little bit. We get a cool episode with Lon Noonien Singh. All right, she just minded her business, trying to live her life. She's out there training she's actually sparring with the medical doctor, aka combat medic, aka karate master, aka wisdom of the ship. You know, she's just trying to work things out.
Morpheus with a syringe. I mean, this dude.
Yeah.
This dude. Yeah.
Dr. Mbinga be coming through.
Seriously.
He was trying to tell her, he was like, look, you know what I mean? You know, you got some things you need to work out as your physician. You're not my physician right now. You're like, well, as a
sparring partner, I'm saying you don't want this to go for real.
Yeah,
you might be all genetically enhanced and condescendent, but I've seen things, girl.
Yeah, it's like you don't scare nobody. Like, but
I fight like a father. You don't want none of this. You know what I mean?
So he even turned it around on her a little bit just to show her like, hey, look, I know you've got power and you do have some skills, but like the reason you train with me for a reason. All right, let me just remind you that I got skills. So I did like that. I did like him bringing that through. I enjoyed that.
Well,
Um,
you know what that reminds me of?
mhm.
When you're hanging out with your uncle and he don't feel like slapping you yet. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's
He's
like,
like,
why are
what?
you
He's
doing it
probably
like
too
that,
young.
boy? Huh?
He's probably like, you know what? You're still a little too young.
Exactly. So, he's not like, he's kind of doing the thing of, you know what, that wasn't bad. But you might want to spread your legs a little bit more if you're gonna try and throw me like that. I know
Yeah,
what I'm doing, blah blah blah. I'm just saying, and then he throws you across the room. See, spread your legs a little bit.
like I told
That
you.
kind of thing.
Like I'm working with the little guy right now. I'm like, look, I see you working on your 1-2s, but when you do your 2, you drop your 1. You got to protect your face, protect the
Mhm.
head. You know what I'm saying? Protect the head.
And put a
Keep
little more hip into it, little man.
You know what I'm saying?
A
Protect your
little more
head,
hip.
because oh man, but yeah. So I did like that. We got a little bit, into because Miss Singh has been we've been kind of like peeling the layers back from her a little bit, but still she's kind of like just the mean security person. She's
Yeah,
the mean security captain. That's
she's
it.
the wharf. That is
Yeah.
what she is.
She's
You know,
mean and that's it. And
she's
we're
like, I'm just
slowly peeling
angry.
things
Look at
back.
me. I got a badge. I got to show that I am qualified for this job by having no quarter for anyone.
Yeah,
And the
true.
doctor's like, half of my job is training how to hurt people so I know how to fix them. Just saying.
It's like, look, you can ask for help if you really need it. I don't need no help. Like, feels
Oh,
like you need
okay.
help. Seems like you need just a little bit of help.
It's like, yeah, don't make me get Nerd's Chapel over here with the sedation, okay?
So, without further ado, let's jump into the actual episode of it all. We come into the episode, we end up, going into a temporal anomaly or, basically time cop. How are you feeling about this episode?
Honestly, when I saw that this was going to be a time travel episode, I'm like, wait a minute. Aren't we at season 3? Yeah, it's about that time.
Oh,
It's about that time. Star Trek goes back in the past. I don't care if it's Journey on the Edge of Tomorrow. The episode where Picard finds out that Guinan knew Mark Twain, but we'll save that for a little later. I don't care if it was Cisco going back to the 1950s as a science fiction writers. If you know, you know. Yeah, we Star Trek does a time travel episode around season 3 ever since The Next Generation. It is tradition. It is what was happening. And, so I'm like, okay, we're marking it off the list. However,
okay.
the fact that the timeline has been altered even more than Picard with the eugenics war that was supposed to happen in the 90s, not having happened by 2023, 2024, that was an interesting twist for me. As that guy, so yeah, it was really interesting and kind of made me wonder, like, okay, is this the episode where Noon becomes a real girl,
Okay, I see where you're coming from. At first, I was when we started this episode off, and you're training. I'm like, okay, this is going to be about Lon, and we get a little bit of I cannot remember her name. I apologize. I'll look up her name before the end of the episode. But like we get a little conversation with Penguin's mom, and she's talking about how some of this stuff is not stolen, but maybe acquired or borrowed. Maybe that's Maybe there's maybe maybe acquired, borrowed,
Yeah, that whole question of
shared,
we walk in talking about statute of limitations. I'm like, okay, I like her.
and like maybe it fell off the back of a truck, those kind of things. And I was like, why is this? This must be like a throwaway episode because we're just talking about. But we do come around and use that information.
Mm-hmm.
We do actually come around. But at first I was like, maybe this is gonna be a throwaway episode because we did just have, we had the episode that kind of set up the season. Then we had the episode where we freed Una. So now maybe we need an episode to kind of decompress a little bit. But as we get into the episode, we find, oh no, hold up, there's kind of a little bit of stakes here. There's because now we're like messing around with two possible timelines where only one should really exist, I guess. And the temporal space, the temporal cops, the time cops, and Noonian kind of in the middle of it. We got Romulans. We got ancestors that are evil but should still be alive because I mean, if they don't make it, then this stuff doesn't exist. But then no one ever asked the questions of like, would it be better still if we still just let that person just get that?
Okay, so yeah, they
so we brought all this in, and I'm like, okay, so this isn't just like just like a throwaway episode.
Well, what you're talking about is the Hitler paradox. Okay, anybody that messes around with time travel fiction, eventually, without fail, ends up asking the question, would things be better if we go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby? Okay, that's been a big thing. Doctor Who did a whole episode on it, and it's funny that it took 50 something years for them to get to it, but they got to it. This is a thing that a lot of stuff comes down, and Khan is, let's face it, ever since Space Seed. Okay, I don't know if you watched season 1 of Star Trek yet, or of TOS. I don't know if you've watched it yet. But again, Ricardo Montalban showed how smooth he is and why Khan is so awesome, and why The Wrath of Khan was such an iconic movie. Okay. So asking that question of, do we get rid of the dude that essentially was the dictator and the bad guy and all that stuff? And they touched on it for half a sec with the, look, he did a whole lot of stuff, but the eugenics war is really the thing that made Earth get its stuff together. So like he is the necessary evil for us to get the Federation. I mean, that was God, let's call him Tiberius. That was Tiberius's timeline. Where they did kill him and Earth never joined the Federation. It never became a utopia. Matter of fact, Earth gets destroyed in that timeline. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they brought all that stuff out in the episode,
Because in shows or movies or episodes like this, I don't really see it explored a lot in a situation where, we killed the guy and actually things still turned out good, or things still turned out all right, or so, like it's usually the idea is this person has to be there. If that person isn't there, then things won't be good later. Yeah. And I don't think it's ever explored that if this person isn't there, then things can still be good later. Like, well, I don't think if it's, well, it might be explored somewhere. I'm pretty sure there's something I haven't seen, but in general, that's not explored.
That's
unless you're talking about an episode, or an issue of X-Force where they had the child apocalypse and Deadpool was just like, pop, let's go home.
Yeah, but remember, rule number 1 to all X-Force writers: Deadpool is always wrong.
They argued about it for 2 seconds and like Deadpool was just like, pop, all right, that's wrong.
Yeah. But see, that is an interesting thing, and this is actually something I've wanted to talk to you about. in regards to fiction in general. Okay, slight tangent, but not
No,
quite.
that's what
All
we're here
right.
for. You know what I'm saying? We do the show. That's what it's about.
Going back to Infinity War. Okay.
Okay.
Thanos' whole plan of destroying half the life and blah 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 blah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that whole thing that pops off on that front. Okay. And of course, you got people like me going, no, you don't have to destroy half of all life. But there's the whole doubling the resource argument. And here's the thing on that. All right. Audiences and writers cannot wrap their heads around the idea that humanity as a whole can get to a good place without going to a bad one first. Okay. With the whole Thanos paradox, we've got and I'm not, this is where I'm not on that Thanos was right kick. All right. But this is the big important thing. They had to put that, putting things in balance as all things should be nonsense into the plot because, currently in the world, we have more than enough food to feed everyone for free, no questions asked, forever. We make that much food. Okay. Yeah. So we have our problems with the world isn't a matter of overpopulation, it's under distribution. But if you put that in a movie, it's too close to being right. It's too close to being right. And then people either don't believe it or they start asking questions and we start getting protests. It's always one of those two things.
Well, on that kick, I remember at the time, this is early aughts. I'm working at Food Lion at the time. Food Lion, if you're not on the East Coast, Food Lion is basically like Vons on the West Coast.
Okay.
It's like Vons or
Kroger, HEB, something like that.
Yeah, Kroger is their competitor, but it's a grocery store.
Okay.
So I remember them running these stories on like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all the major national BBC, all that stuff. They were like, "There's a food shortage. There's a world food shortage," and I was like, "My friend worked at Kroger," and I'm like, "Yo, there's like mad food back here. Like, what are you talking about? There's tons of food.
Mad food that gets thrown away.
Corporations are greedy. We have pounds and pounds of like Cheerios, SpaghettiOs, hamburger meat, chicken. There's tons of food here. There's food in every grocery store is the same. We have tons of food on top of farmers, community farmers stuff. There's tons of food. Corporations are greedy. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with food shortage. You think we can't send a couple burgers over there? Of course we could, but we won't because there's not $1 in it. Or maybe they won't let us have their gold or their oil or whatever. Or they won't let us build a pipeline somewhere, so we won't send some tacos over there. Come on, man. There's tons of food. The world is fertile enough to grow tons of stuff.
Exactly. Man, so, like I said, everywhere. Too close to be right, so that we don't have these conversations. Now, Star Trek exists under the premise that the eugenics wars of the 1990s, headed up by Kang Young-soon, were so hideous and so terrible that Earth as a whole got together and said, no more war. Period. We are not doing this anymore. Okay. So the idea of people just getting their heads together and saying, you know what? We're tired of all this nonsense. Let's just be good. If that happened without a major catastrophe with gallons and gallons of blood shed, that will get people talking. That whole question of, why don't we just feed people? Why don't we stop killing each other for land? Why don't we just get together and make college and Medicare free and all that other stuff that we talk about on Tuesday nights with our meetings down by the docks? You know,
there's also the population control argument. There's tons of newsflash to everyone listening to this, anyone who might hear this on accident. There's tons of space on Earth. They put all the resources in major port cities. That's why it seems like there's a lot of people. There's
Bro.
tons of space in the middle of Tennessee, Kansas, Montana, other countries. There's tons of space. They put all the jobs in DC, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Miami, LA, Houston. So then people have to move there. Now, there are situations with where we now have proven that you can work completely remotely, and people have moved into rural areas, but then of course that creates a problem for who? Yeah, you've got it, you're right, for 10,000, the 1%. Because see, they put billions of dollars into corporate real estate, which you are now not going to. So so that's the problem. But yeah, there's the Earth has tons of space. All right. There's tons of space on Earth. All right. There's tons.
So applying that to our Star Trek model, all right.
People are just gonna wake up and be like, you know what? We should just stop being mean to each other because that's wrong.
Yeah. So according to the Star Trek model, Earth has achieved that. They woke up and they said, yeah, there's tons of space. There's tons of stuff. We now have interstellar travel. So why not make travel anywhere on the planet free? We've got replicators. So why do people have to work for farms and all that stuff? Now, you want a farm? Here, have a farm. If you really want to do backbreaking labor and growing stuff like that all day, have at it. Have fun. Go nuts. But it took serious war and bloodshed over the course of 10 or 15 years. Don't tell me to do better. This is off the top of my head. For humanity to have that awakening. And so, again, to stick with the canon, Khan has to exist in order to inspire the Federation not to destroy itself, to show Earth, there's a way other than war, because look at where war has gotten us. So he's got to live. He's got to live.
All right. Gotcha. And I want to flip it. Same situation, but I want to flip it on the side of the Romulans. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say this to the Romulans. Normally, when we talk about the Romulans, they're bad. Romulans are bad. All right, but you know what? The Romulans, it makes sense. They're like, hey, who's our biggest enemy? Oh, the Federation, duh. All right, well, since we don't like the Federation and they got mad power and stuff, why don't we just figure out a way to not make them? And it's like, hey man, have you ever seen this movie called Terminator? Oh yeah, what's it like? Oh yeah, well see, they send this robot.
See, now you're sounding like Tom Holland in every Marvel movie.
Oh, man.
Have you seen that really old movie Terminator?
It's like, have you seen this movie called Terminator? See, they sent a robot back in time. Oh snap, back in time? Now, the fact that this girl, this I guess secret time Romulan agent said we just have computers that figure out like where to go and mess. It's like, whoa. So like y'all are doing other stuff too? I think that opens up like a larger conversation of like, whoa, hold on. What else are y'all doing? Because if y'all have computers that are just telling you like, hey, change this, change that, it'll make like what else are you doing? And I guess that opens up the door for why we have the Star Trek time cops that we meet, I guess at the sort of the beginning of the episode and at the end of the episode. Because Romulans is running around messing with stuff.
The Romulans in and of themselves have always, remember what they are, okay? The Romulans are the Vulcans if they decided to be outward jerks, right? So the Romulans have, cloaking and stealth technology, that was always a Romulan thing. Like a cloaking device is Romulan. That's where it came from. All right. So when it comes down to that kind of thing, what are the Romulans? The Romulans are mad scientists that don't like anybody. They are literally, they're the crazy people that call up Dr. Hammond and say, by the way, we figured out a way to clone dinosaurs. Don't worry about whether or not you should. I'm just letting you know we can.
Oh,
just
we're going to make a movie. We're also going to make a movie where some random kid that's also a clone, hey, newsflash, that works out. We're going to make a movie where that kid just sets tons of dinosaurs free.
Exactly.
Like, and no one outside of a couple of news reports, no one. I'm like, do you know? I was talking to Jay Shearer on an episode. I'm like, we never really deal with like what could really happen with that. Even not even predators. Think about our vegetation. How much does a brontosaurus have to eat before it's full?
Yeah.
Just today, like like but they're like, don't worry about all that. Look, check Chris Pratt gonna do this, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
they're like,
Chris
don't worry
Pratt
about that.
Chris Pratt's holding his arms out, and the dinosaurs are stopping. Isn't that cool? Yeah.
It's like Blue came back, everybody.
Yeah. So seriously speaking, the Romulans are at risk of using mixed metaphors and stuff like that, but the Romulans are essentially the Council of Ricks from Rick and Morty. That's what they've always been, you know. So yeah, what else are they up to? You really don't want to know.
I mean, I guess that's why the temporal cops exist, because I was like, hold on. So you just have a computer that tells you places that you should go, and you can go there and mess with stuff?
Yep.
It's like, how do I even know I'm living a real life? Or, I mean, I guess living in my proper timeline. What have you changed? I mean, look, is there a spoon? No, it's just like,
yeah, exactly. And that's how Romulans roll. And you know what a Romulan will say to you? You're not smart enough to understand the answer to the question that you just asked. That's what a Romulan would say.
That's how they do, man. But I will give them this. I like their style. I know they're bad guys, but I like their style. You know, they don't give up. They keep going at it, and they don't really have any, like, outside of the Federation. They don't. I mean, I guess the Klingons, but they don't really have anyone outside of. Is there anyone on the Romulans level? Because I mean, Vulcans really don't mess with them like that. Vulcans aren't really fighters like that.
Well, see, that's the thing.
So, like, Vulcans don't really fight like that. So, I mean, I guess the Klingons, but Klingons, I don't really. I mean, I guess I see them as on their level, but they're so different. They're not really. Like you said, they're like the Council of Ricks. Like, the Romulans are focused on, like, technological might.
Yes.
And, like, Klingons are like, look, I can punch you harder than you can punch me. Like,
and I have the technology to punch you even harder. And, if your audience doesn't know, my major focus outside of comic books and sci-fi and all that stuff are games. And the Romulans and the Vulcans are elves. That's what they are. They're straight up elves in space from Lord of the Rings. Okay. And you got the Romulans, who are kind of you got the Vulcans, who are kind of like the high elves, like Galadriel and Kelborn, that are like, something has changed. I've seen it in the water. They're I live here in my tree. Yes, I can do all that stuff. And the Romulans were out there like Legolas and his father. They're being jerked. They're like, hey, I see you got a mountain with a whole bunch of gold and magical artifacts in it. Let me have it. Like, what? Look, I fought the dragon once too. He gave me a scratch that I don't ever have to show.
Who was the elf that the dwarves was getting beat up and stuff, and like he was on the mountain with the I don't know, the deer or whatever. He was riding a moose or something.
Yeah, that was Thranduil. That was Legolas' father.
Thranduil, that's the dude. He I don't like him. I don't like him.
I don't know. Thranduil is a jerk. He's a total jerk. But the thing is, the elves in total are jerks. You know, seriously. The only cool one that you really saw in the franchise, and when I say cool, I mean like not completely condescending jerkwads to everybody, were Legolas, Gil-galad, and Glorfindel. That's it. Elrond was even a jerk.
Well, Elrond. Well, older Elrond. See, younger Elrond seemed cool. Like, you know, he went, talked to the dwarf dude, met his wife and everything. Everything was cool. Like, he was cool back in the day, but then when he grew up, he was wet.
Yeah, but that's all new canon. I'm talking like from the 60s to the new show. Elrond was again, Spock is based a lot on him, and he's still a jerk. You know, because yeah, I mean, Elrond is also half elf, like Spock is half Vulcan. And
okay, all right,
yeah.
I see you.
All right, so we get a lot of that stuff with the only reason that Spock isn't a total jerk all the time is because yes, he's half human and he had a mama that cared, and knew canon, he had a sister as well, but his father was a little crazy. His father got involved in a little swirling, you know what I mean?
Okay,
and so Spock's whole house was a little different from the rest of Vulcan, but most of Vulcan, they're jerks too. Watch Enterprise and you'll see. So yeah, when it comes to this episode with the Romulans going, you know what? The Federation is a thorn in our side. They really are. So let's get rid of them. Well, we can't get rid of them. They keep either winning outright or fighting us to a pause. But you know what we can do? You ever see this old movie called Terminator?
So, all right, well, see, this kid named John Connor, right? Nah.
Yeah, exactly. Like his mom's a little annoying, and then she meets this dude from the future, and then she becomes real cool but a little bit crazy, and you know, and then they get a pet that looks like the governor of California, and
wow,
and then she changes up to a chick who either rides dragons or is part scroll shapeshifter. I don't know. She's an actress. Who knows? And yeah,
wow.
You know.
I mean, first movie, she was just like waiting tables, minding her business. I mean, she really was just a regular minding her business
whining.
person, doing nothing. She was just minding her business, chilling.
Yeah.
And then,
so yeah, so we got these guys going back to 21st century Earth with no gear. And I think that with the writing on this episode, okay, I will give the flowers where they are due. They did a really cool thing that is a very hard thing to do when you're writing.
Okay.
And that is they solved the technology problem. Okay.
Okay.
One of the hard things about writing and stuff nowadays, and this is from your GM, is when you have something set in the future, or even in the modern times, we have technology that solves most problems that make for a good story. Okay? Star Trek even more so. So when they go to Vancouver, or was it Montreal, or was it Toronto? It was Toronto. When they go to Toronto, right? They don't have any of the gear that would have made it easy to find what they were looking for. That's important. They don't have any money. How do they get money? All of the story comes out of solving complications. You know, and I got to say that the writing team did a good job in pointing out and removing their tools that would make every single thing easy. So it was yeah, you know, I know an engineer that's in God, where was she? Like Pittsburgh or something?
She was in Vermont.
Yeah, in Vermont. And yeah, so she might have the knowledge that we need to make the thing. And they show up to her and it's like, nope, she hasn't taken any engineering classes yet.
Yeah, it's like she knows.
And I'm like, all right, cool. You know?
And also she's like, wink, wink, I know things. Like, it's like, I know, it's me. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
I got the download from you. It's all good.
Yeah. And that whole thing of like, what? I haven't done advanced mathematics since Pythagoras made up the stuff, okay? And I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, because again, it's that whole, well, I know somebody who's super immortal, but they solve that problem of, instead of going to the person who's super immortal and knows everything, there's a lot of stuff that they just haven't gotten to yet.
Yep.
And I like that, It's like, yeah, she taught engineering at Starfleet Academy, but that doesn't mean she was an engineer 300 years before Starfleet.
Mm-hmm. And then also, just the, getting the clothes, having to hustle on the street. Then seeing them or seeing Kirk struggle to drive.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that was a really good shout out to the 2009 movie. I thought that was very cool because it had the same color scheme as the car that Kirk drove off a cliff at the beginning of the movie when he was a kid.
You're right. He did drive that car off a cliff.
And I'm like, cute.
In the two
he got
movies
that.
in the 3 movies, I can't remember. But 2 movies, I think, that I enjoyed. I now, of course, I know there's going to be people that are steeped in the lore, but I enjoy those. I have an affinity for those. I know they're a different, I don't know, timeline or whatever, but I thought they were cool. I thought they were
real talk. The first one turned Star Trek into Star Wars, and in all honesty, I didn't mind. I really didn't mind.
Okay.
All right. It was because, we talked about this when you and I went to see the original motion picture, which is one of my favorites of the franchise. Star Trek was cerebral, Star Wars was action packed. And so Star Trek 09, God, I can't believe it's been 15, 16 years. Star Trek 09, as it were, put a lot more action into Star Trek that wasn't there before. And I'm like, oh, this feels a lot more like Star Wars. But you know what? Still cool. I'm with that. I'm kind of with it. So yeah, I'm like, all right, well, that's what we got. I'm cool with it. But then me and your viewers might know me by now, and knowing that I don't think that any canon is sacred, because my last name is not O'Hara. And, and there are 2 or 3 people that I know, so I'm not the one who remains. This is all fiction. And as long as it's well written, entertaining, and sometimes inspiring, or at least emotionally resonant, I'm with it. And this episode did a lot of good stuff. It did a lot of good stuff. One, it gave us a lot of insight to Kirk that a lot of the franchise hasn't really done so.
Okay.
We just got to see one of the things that Star Trek has always been lackluster on is showing that Kirk is very intelligent. Like they've talked about him thinking 4, 5, 6 moves ahead, but they never showed it. You know what I mean?
Good point.
They always had people talking about how clever Kirk was. And both of his appearances in the show has shown, no, dude, this dude is a genius. This dude is seriously a genius.
Yeah, even though the version of Kirk that we know, the version of Kirk that we know in this episode died, but even he was technically right on what he said. He called her bluff, and he was technically right. It's just that she still shot him. But he was right. He was like, "You shoot me, these alarms are going to go off, and people are going to swarm you." Now they didn't swarm her because we need to have the show, but yes, the alarms actually did go off. And so he was right. He was like, I know about this, but I know how these things work. So there's no way you can do that. But I guess he didn't account for that. She was just crazy and she didn't care.
Yeah, or not crazy, Romulan.
This is another level.
Because it's like, oh, these alarms will go off and all that other stuff. And she's like, I either don't believe you or I'm fine with a suicide mission. Blam.
Yeah, because she dusted herself easily. Like she had no problem with doing that. Like Kirk, like she had no problem doing that, and that was a good thing in this episode. I like seeing the slow, like sort of like the slow dropping of the guard from Noonien too. Like seeing her, like okay, so Lon sees him undressing,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, oh, all right, okay, working with a little something, you know. Then you know what I'm saying? She shows us a little bit of body in the hotel, you know, and she goes and watches, you know, a handsome Kirk sleep. And then, you know, when they're still connecting on the streets, you know, you finally see her. She's like, you know, I'm so tired of being strong all the time. Sometimes I just want to be vulnerable. All right, maybe she didn't say that, but she said that in my mind. All right, she said that in my mind, and Kirk was like, "Don't worry about that, girl. I'm here for you."
At least until I get back to my ship.
So I get back to the ship. Man. So that was cool. We get to see kind of her open up to in a place where she hasn't before. We saw her outside of there was the episode with the Gorn where we definitely saw kind of like the fear kind of return to her in a way that we haven't seen before. But we're doing a lot with her, and I think it's going to lead to something that's important, and I like it.
Yeah.
So I'll give her props for this. That's something else that I think this episode did really well.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I particularly like the way that the episode ended, in the sense of, you know, the timeline is restored, and I do gotta say, the time agent being in her room, like, oh, yeah, thanks for helping us out. We were never here, and can I'm gonna take my thingy back. Like, I'm gonna take the goober. Thanks. That's that's our goober. And you can't have this goober because you would probably get a whole lot of bad ideas that I can see on your face about thinking that you're thinking about. But when she made that call, you know, that one call, that whole, oh, Captain Kirk, yeah, this is Lieutenant Soon from the Enterprise. And he's like, God, what did Sam do? What did he do?
He's like, oh man, what's Sam do?
And then it was like, no. I'm like, hey, she sounds like me when I was 14. Yeah, hi.
And then like the straight tears after it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is a possibility because he said, hey, you know what I'm saying? Invite when I come next time I'm around, send me some drinks, and you know, I'll tell you all kinds of embarrassing stories.
Which meant we were back in the prime timeline because that was our Kirk.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, why you calling me? Oh, what my brother do? Well, you know what, girl, your voice sounds kind of cool. And you want to know about my brother?
If you want me to tell a whole bunch of embarrassing stories, no problem. I got you.
Yeah, I got some stories. We can just get some coffee, maybe a little wine. You know. Oh, don't worry about the music. That's just that's classical Earth music. That's Barry White. Don't worry about that. You know. Who turned this music on? I didn't know that. Don't worry about that. Mm-hmm.
It's like
why are the lights so dim in here, Captain? Oh, I've got sensitive eyes.
It's like, oh, well, I'm just following the commands of the music. He said turn off the lights and light a candle. So I figured, you know, you and I could
you straight went Teddy Pendergrass.
Oh, yeah, wow. Man. I mean, if the music is good, it's good. You know? It's like, I'm just trying to follow the commands, you know.
Yeah, so seriously, that was very much a thing where, you know, we got a little glimpse of the Kirk that we all know, but watching her break down like, oh man, I can't believe it. I restored the timeline and now I'm alone again. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes, you know. And I particularly like that because there aren't very many TV shows that are out there that show the cost of doing what's right. You know?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things, like, you know, I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I do everything I can do to be a decent person, and it sucks. I miss out on money and job opportunities and a whole bunch of stuff that's like, nah, I can't do that. That's not ethical. That's not right. That hurts too many people.
Yeah. There are times when I'm sitting around like, hold on, but how, like, how are these people doing these things? And like, they still, man, like, I just want like a fraction. I'm not even doing anything. Can I get some good stuff, please?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, you and I, we're content creators. We can go Kundus Owens in a minute and get
Oh,
thousands of subscribers in a day.
classic. Yeah, true, true. All you have to do is go in and hit that tap dance number.
Uh-huh.
You're like, oh man, I'm
And
getting
then
all
you get
kinds
a
of
house.
super chats and everything.
Yeah, then you get a house. Koch brothers call you up saying, I like the cut of your jib. Have a Ferrari. Just keep
Oh
saying that
boy.
stuff, but that's not who we are or the example that we want to set. And in this episode, it showed she finally had an emotional connection with somebody, romantic or otherwise. And then she saved the timeline and it was gone.
Yep.
The first time that she saw happiness. And when I say not many stories follow this, the main ones that show this over and over again are the best Spider-Man stories. And she very much did a Spider-Man thing on that. And I'm not talking No Way Home, all right? No Way Home only like barely touched on it. I'm talking just the standard Spider-Man story. Like, hey, I saved the city, I lost my girlfriend, I'm still broke, and everybody hates me, but everybody's alive. Spider-Man.
Like, yeah, but
Really sucks
I
to be
saved a couple.
Spider-Man.
I saved a couple people, and at least they like me. But the mass media is still dumping on me.
Yeah, and again, Noonien soon got that, and I really do appreciate that. Where even in Star Trek, sometimes doing the right thing hurts, but it's still worth doing. And she did it.
It definitely comes through and kind of drops that emotional weight at the end of the episode with her just crying. That she killed that moment too. Like she's like, all right, and then he hit us with the classic Kirk out, and then like right after that she just breaks down.
Yeah,
and it was good. That episode ended up in a very, I mean, in a bad way, but also a good way. Because I mean, hey, there's always an opportunity. I mean, he has a cordial relationship with her, but I mean, of course, we know the future, so we know they don't. But I mean, still, if we had not already had these shows and stuff set in stone, there could have possibly been a future, where she kind of like, all right, well, let's have a conversation or something. Let's talk about Sam, and then kind of like eases it, over into like maybe hanging out a little bit more. You never know, But I mean, of course, with the way the canon is set up, that's not going to happen. But it was nice to see her have that moment at least for a little bit.
right.
So with that, I think I think this is a solid one. I'm gonna throw it over to you. Let me hear your final thoughts, and where can the people find you?
So my final thoughts on this episode was that it was a really good character study. Really good character study. We finally get a moment with the most closed off character. Oh my God, am I 8? Most closed off character. I feel I'm like 14 all of a sudden. We have the most emotionally closed off and distant character finally getting some time to be like, look, this is who I am. This is me. I don't get along with the rest of the crew. I do my job. I got a whole bunch of stuff. And yeah, at the end of the day, it came down to, this is who I am. This is how I feel about stuff. When it comes to making the hard call, I will make the hard call, even though it'll hurt,
Okay. Okay.
And I thought that was really good. It was good to get more insight into Captain Kirk. And it was really interesting to see a new take on an alternate dimension of the Federation, where they're not literal mustache trolling evil people. And they're not super duper utopian stuff. It's more like We blew up the planet. Now we're out here and we're just doing what we do. You know,
We're just trying to figure it out on the go.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So I thought this episode was well written, very well directed. God, what I can't remember the name of the actress. Christina Chong. Christina Chong did a great job. Showing the emotional complexity of this particular character. You know, I thought it was very well done. So yeah, I will definitely give this particular episode a solid straight. And
okay.
Yeah, a solid straight. Would I watch it again tomorrow? No, I'm good. But I didn't feel like I wasted my time. I thought this was very well put together.
All right,
so
solid.
Yeah. And if y'all want to hear me talk about more stuff in this intellectual / psychologically yet emotionally supporting way, y'all can find me Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on twitch.tv/BID_P. And you can find me on YouTube at BidP Blurred or Solar Gray at the same bat time, same bat channel. Or same bat time and that bat channel. Yeah, that
that's what we're talking about. And of course, NERDSoul right here for his final thoughts. Pleasantly surprised. I thought this episode would be a throwaway, but we ended up getting to know more about Noonien Singh and more about Kirk, good old James T. And seeing them on kind of a time cop date, you know what? I liked it. I did. I ended up liking it. I thought this was going to be a snooze fest, and it wasn't. So I'm glad. I'm glad that this show still entertains me. And like I said, Star Trek. Well, I mean, I've been saying this for a couple of years, but Star Trek is back. I mean, if you're a Star Trek fan, I don't like. It's kind of like with the FGC. Like the FGC right now, look, you got Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8 is on the way. Mortal Kombat will be here in September. Like, bruh, stop it. Stop complaining. There is nothing for y'all to hate right now. The 3 big fighting game properties are going to be released within like a year of one another. Like Street Fighter is already here, Tekken 8 is on the way, and Mortal Kombat is right around the corner. So like, stop crying. Just like with this, we have Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Lower Decks, Star Trek Prodigy, even though I think that's over, and Star Trek Picard, which is now over. But still, that's 5 shows, man. It's 5 shows.
And I'm pretty sure Lower Decks is going live action soon.
Really?
It might be apocryphal, so don't quote me on that entirely.
I hope not. I like Lower Decks being animated. I like that. I like that we have our 2 animated shows, and then we have like 2 or 3 live action shows. Even though I think this is going to be Discovery's final season 2,
which I'm actually okay with.
But I'm sure they'll be replacing it with something else, like the show with the Star Trek CIA or whatever, the black communicators, those ones, like I guess the secret squad or whatever, whoever they are, those people that had Michelle Yeoh's character and
they're doing the time or Agent 13.
Yeah. So they're doing their whole thing. So I'm like, look, we've got a lot for Star Trek. So if you're digging it, then you.
Oh yeah, no,
we should have something that you can have fun with,
bro. We Trekkies and Trekkers are eating good right now.
Yes, there's tons to enjoy. But this was what I thought was going to be a snooze fest. I ended up enjoying. So this show comes through in spades. So of course, you can find me Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, podcast, all that jazz. NERDSoul doing it up for y'all almost daily, like semi-weekly or something. I don't know. Look, you'll see it sometimes. At least 2 videos a week. We're in flux. We moved from LA, so things are still in flux. But hey, we're making things happen. So until the next temporal anomaly. This is us telling you, peace.
Later, guys.